5. Welcome to my thoughts on The Bear, Season 4, Episode 6, Sophie. The episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for this episode and all the ones leading up to it. Another episode I love, let's dive right in. So I think, before I talk about specific characters and such, I wanted to note, I thought this episode did a really solid job of this thing of like, you know, a lot of the characters here don't really know exactly how to respond to Sid's dad having a heart attack, and as melodramatic as the show has gotten recently, that did feel really authentic. Just this, because, they know her mom's dead. She's like in her 20s. If her dad dies too, that's a lot for her age. She's at that age where not only do you yourself feel, invulnerable, it feels like, well, at least, even if you've lost one parent, you feel like the other one's always going to be there somehow, and I thought they did a really solid job of just a lot of people here just not quite sure exactly how to respond. Like, nobody is like, that's fucked. Here's what we do. Like, I guess Richie is fairly quick, and Claire, because it's part of her job description. But everybody else just really, struggles. It was very sweet when, let's see, it's, shit. There's too many names. I'm sorry. I'm struggling to keep up. Hold on. Tina. When Tina calls, I think it's throwing me off because her first name is Liza, so there's too much in common between the character and the actor's first name. Sorry. No disrespect to Liza Colon Zayas. Yeah, she calls and like leaves a message, and it's like, well, the she says some stuff, and then it's like, we love you, Sid. Everyone says it in unison because it's like, what the fuck do you do? How do you respect? Because they do want to make sure she feels supported, but exactly how to do it, what to say, just everyone feels awkward about it. And I think that might just about, it was like, when Carmi talked to her on the phone, is like, is there anything you need? He really is doing better. He is being better at being better to other people. It's really great to see. It would be really frustrating if he was still, like, in, first season, my God, he was kind of a mess. He really did not know how to deal with other people. And understandably so, but it would be so frustrating if his character was just stuck there after all this time. I think that might just about cover and the thing, I appreciate you too. That was also sweet. Yeah. I really loved the use of the tools of filmmaking when, Sid walks in. The choice to keep the camera on her face. Like, she walks up, it's like, my dad's here, last name ADMU, ADAMU, and it's like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Because that really is, like, she feels so disempowered right now, and the nurse, why don't you take a seat? And right, yes. So the bit where she's walking and like the way like some of the sound cuts out and like gets all like distorted, and they got like the tinnitus sound going, like she's overwhelmed, her feeling, her senses are overwhelmed by this, not because there's a specific, like, something specific overwhelming her senses, like literal, like a smell or noise or something, but because of the emotional toll it's taking on her. Really, really nicely done. And yeah, her, talking to Claire. Thank God for Claire. God damn it. Can we just, like, I think she's my favorite bear. Of all the characters they refer to as bear at one point or another, Claire Bear is the, you know, there's a bear that's second best. That's probably Carmi. And we got a bear that's the best, and that's got to be Claire. Just one of my favorite characters. I hope she's in more of, they've confirmed season 5. I hope she's in more of the rest of this season and a lot of season 5. She's just so fucking good. Yeah, I love the trust that is put in the audience here to not get like bored or something, because there's a lot of just dialogue and honestly a lot of monologue. Like a chunk of the bit in the hospital is Sid talking, and the camera's in a close-up on her face, occasional little cut to Claire, but like there's a bit where I think there's a minute or two without it cutting away from her, and just the fucking talent on display, the writing, the acting. Like Ayo Edebiri, my God, she is talented. I'm so glad she's gotten to show how unbelievably gifted she is on this show. Like, fuck, just absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad. I love that more recently we're seeing, they used to call it the ugly cry and be like, people don't want to see that. And now we're seeing, yeah, actually people don't, people are, because it's so much more real. It's so much more authentic, just, yeah. Um, and the whole, the way that she goes through different, like, she's almost already grieving him, even though she's been told, oh, he'll be fine. She's like going through different stages of grief, and the whole thing, and talking about his worrying about her and how she wishes he would worry more about himself, take care of himself. She's trying to work out, how did we get here and how can we stop it? How can we have to get out of this situation, And this is a very natural reaction when you are dealing with something like this. And she keeps saying, she doesn't know what to do if she loses him too. She never thought that he would, on some level, in some weird way, she didn't really think that he would ever die, and just, yeah. And the bit with, Claire, like, you look stunning, and Sid's like, what? And Claire's like, well, I mean, I've been crying a lot, over Carmi, understandably. People keep telling me I look good, so, that was a great moment, because it's also just, it takes the tension out, because, like, Sid, is and it's such a fuck thing, like, to be thinking about. And it's because of all the pressure that, patriarchy puts on women, which is another thing, like, really courageous of Aoi Debiri to cry her heart out on camera like that, and the just, yeah, the fact that you can do that today. There used to be, like, I believe it's less of a thing today, but there used to be a thing where if an actress was thought of as, oh, she's like the romantic lead, you couldn't have her play like a villain or just like someone who wasn't quite as appealing, that sort of thing. Like, there used to be a thing of, like, if an actress was playing the plain sister of the conventionally attractive lead, female character, that was like a step down. It was like, oh, she's reached that stage in her career. Poor her, she'll never be a star again, that sort of thing. But yeah, she. Yeah, I've said everything about those scenes. So, let's see. So there's definitely, there's a bunch of stuff about, Yeah, I liked the conversations about adjusting the thing about at least the menu's locked and still struggling with getting under. I guess I misunderstood. I thought when I talked about an earlier episode in an earlier video, I thought that she had gotten it under 3 minutes, to the point where she needed with the pasta. Um, let's see the thing with we should get some more Lucas. What? I mean, stages, okay, yeah, that works. Dude, I can't even afford the fucking stripes on these napkins, or hyenas for that matter. Um, I think that might more or less bring us to. So yeah, the bit in the kitchen. It's not an episode of The Bear if there's not people bickering loudly and dropping f-bombs to the to each other in the kitchen. But yeah, that was a great scene. I really love the bit where I think it's Jessica is like, wait, who's that? Okay, and having it cleared up. I think every single one of us who at some point in our lives, yes, that has been me, has watched a non-zero number of episodes of an actual legitimate soap opera. If somebody else joins partway and it's like, oh, who's that person they're talking about? And, you have to try to explain briefly, which is difficult for a soap, Yeah, that was, I felt that. That was, but yeah, and the discussion about, who's, Francie Fact, what did she do? She know what she did. Yeah, that wasn't the question, though. Like, she wasn't, yeah. And the thing about, oh, of course, Carmi's not going to go to the wedding. Well, I have to run the restaurant. It's a Sunday. Shit. He's like, oh, fuck, that didn't occur to me. God damn it. I should have thought of more excuses. God damn it. And then, Richie's like, you know what? Actually, it's best if you don't come. Because if you come, you're going to be all fucked up. And that's going to fuck me all up. And then Carmi's like, no, I actually kind of want to go. I love the sibling energy between them. Just wonderful. Yeah, and Sugar several times, she doesn't spell out that it's about the baby, but yeah, she is like, Silencio, what are you doing? The baby's right there, and yeah, of course, she ends up crying. I think that might, yeah, and Luca being like, you locked yourself in a fridge? No, not intentionally. And I think that might just about. But yeah, I liked when you're Richie is trying to figure out, how do we talk about, when you're here, your family. Nope, that's taken. And Neil managed to figure out who the mystery man is. Keeps, yeah, that was great. And the thing about, nope, everybody here gets treated like they're one of us. That's it. And he writes it down right next to, you're a snowman dancing between two fires right now. I think that might just about cover everything. Right, the bit with the baby with Sophie and the two of the facts, like, what are we doing? I just want to smell the baby. Have you ever smelled a baby? Leans in, smells the baby. They smell so wonderful, and she comes, what the fuck are you two doing here? And Ted starts like writing on. He told me to write every second counts. Wow. And the thing about, I was just smelling the baby. Have you ever smelled a baby? Yes, Neil. I've smelled a baby. Yeah, that was also such a great, Are you hiding? A little bit? I'm your girl, and I'm your boy. I'm afraid you're gonna be mad. Sugar Plum, I could never be mad at you. I invited Francie to the wedding. You what? You motherfucker. I can't even look at you right now. You disgust me, just like, yeah. Um, and and I do also think, yeah, like, Neil, what the fuck? Come on, man. Yeah. Um, and I think that does get us nice. And yeah, that bleeds into a larger fight, in the verbal fight in the kitchen. And I think that covers everything that I had to say about the episode. Yeah, just, again, fantastic. I think they do right. That's God. Sometimes it's really good when I buy myself a little time by saying I think I've done it. Emmanuel, the bit where he and Sid are talking, and the thing with, I'll move right back in. He points out, no, this is not because you moved out. You wouldn't have been able to stop it. It's a heart attack. It's like, it would have been something like hypothetically, let's say that he, needed permanent, needed a carer, I think is the way you say it today. I really mean no disrespect. I struggle to keep up with all the changes in language. But yeah, the if he needed a carer and she refused to or something. But no, like, a heart attack is not something you can, you know yeah. And yeah, he says, I forbid you from coming home. You are exiled. But that was also great, and they laugh and smile, and him kissing her forehead, just so sweet. I really appreciate the show making time for some sweet moments in amongst all the arguing and sudden conflicts about just, yeah. Um yeah. I also quite appreciated when I struggle to keep track of all that. I believe it's the one they call Ted. Who's like, he's checking out them making desserts, and he's like, oh, blue. That's a, yeah. And they're like, could you get the fuck out of here? And they're like, so Ted, what would you say you do here?